Julian Thorne was the man every guy in New York City envied. His career was skyrocketing, and he had Serena Vance, the heiress to the Vance empire who looked down on everyone else but had loved him exclusively for decades. When his business hit a wall, she dropped a multi-million-dollar deal to help him secure a smaller one. When he collapsed from overwork, she stayed by his bedside for nights on end. When a mudslide trapped him in the mountains, she ignored rescue protocols and risked her life to pull him out. Married for 40 years, Serena insisted on being child-free. Yet even without heirs, their love remained as fresh as their first day. But it all ended the year Serena died unexpectedly. 62-year-old Julian stood before her grave, eyes hollow, unable to accept she was gone. His hair had turned white overnight. As the funeral wound down, the family lawyer approached with the will, trailed by Julian's cousin, Adrian Thorne, and Adrian's son, Leo. Julian barely noticed them, drowning in his grief. The lawyer, casting a pitying glance at the devastated widower, began to read. The deceased, Serena Vance, bequeaths all assets to Adrian Thorne and his son. Julian froze, turning stiffly to the lawyer. What did you say? The lawyer paused, then continued. The group shares the Vance family estate, and hundreds of properties are bequeathed to Adrian Thorne. He is now the patriarch of the Vance family. Julian's voice was hoarse as he interrupted. No, there must be a mistake. I am a husband. He stumbled forward, snatching the document. It was no mistake. Serena had left everything to Adrian, and the unsaid truth followed. Leo was not just Adrian's son, but the sole heir to the Vance bloodline. The blood drained from Julian's face. Adrian, looking equally haggard, stepped forward. He bore a striking resemblance to Julian. With tears streaming down his face, Adrian spoke. Cousin, I'm sorry I lied to you. The wife I've been talking about all these years. It was Serena. My son isn't just Leo. He's Leo Vance. He is Serena's child with me. Leo Vance. Serena Vance loved Adrian Thorne. The revelation struck Julian like a thunderbolt. The world went silent, replaced by a high-pitched ringing. 37 years ago, Adrian had suddenly married. He constantly bragged about his amazing wife. He wanted kids. She gave him one. He had a fever. She dropped billion-dollar mergers to nurse him. He was a picky eater. The heiress who never touched dishwater learned to cook just for him. And now, Adrian was telling Julian that this perfect wife was Serena. Her business trips for half a year were actually to give birth. Impossible. Serena loves me. The whole city knows it. Julian shook his head violently, shouting at the lawyer. You're conspiring with him to scam me, aren't you? How much did he pay you? The lawyer sighed, pained, and played a video on his tablet. On the screen, Serena lay on a hospital bed, pale as a sheet. Adrian sat by her side, sobbing uncontrollably. This was her last half hour alive. Julian stood paralyzed. Before she died, he had begged to see her one last time, but the secretary barred him, claiming doctors were resuscitating her. She wasn't being resuscitated. She was saying goodbye to Adrian. Julian's heart felt like it was being ground through a meat mincer. Serena's voice was weak but tender. Don't cry. You're making it hard for me to leave. Adrian shook his head frantically. She gripped his hand and turned to the lawyer. Draft my will. Everything goes to Adrian and Leo. Specify that he is the new master of the Vance family. The lawyer hesitated. And Mr. Thorne. Julian's breath hitched. On screen, Serena looked at Adrian with heartbreak and guilt. I gave Julian 40 years of legitimacy and status. Everything left. I want to give to Adrian. I owe him this. She whispered. Adrian, meeting you was the greatest luck of my life. I let you suffer in the shadows this lifetime. In the next, let's meet first. Her hand dropped. Her eyes closed. The video ended, and with it, Julian's 40-year dream shattered. She said she owed Adrian. She promised him the next life. What about Julian? What was he? A probe. For 40 years, she had countless chances to come clean. Was she afraid he wouldn't let go? Julian Thorne had always been a man of dignity. He wouldn't spare a glance for a woman who didn't love him. Instead, he had been deceived for a lifetime, turned into a complete joke. Pain pierced him like 1,000 swords. Adrian, supported by Leo, stepped into the position of the grieving widower. Cousin, I'll take it from here. I've had the butler pack your things. You should move out today. It's what Serena wanted. He was already acting the master. Julian didn't cry. He turned around numbly, his eyes dead, and walked out of the cemetery step by step. Overwhelmed by grief, he didn't realize he had wandered to the edge of the cliff overlooking the grounds. As the horizon tilted and the sky rushed away, he closed his eyes peacefully. If he could live again, he would never be this much of a failure. Julian was jolted awake by a ringtone. Instinctively, he answered, "Mr. Thorne, there are only 10 days left in the mandatory divorce cooling-off period. Are you sure you want to rescind the filing?" He froze. Hadn't he fallen off a cliff? Confused, Julian caught his reflection in the mirror opposite. The man looking back was only in his 20s, in the prime of his life. Disbelieving, he touched his face and pulled the phone away. The date read, October 27th, 2025. Exactly 37 years ago. He was reborn. The voice on the phone persisted. "Mr. Thorne? Mr. Thorne? If you're sure about canceling the divorce, I can process it immediately." The words snapped Julian back to reality. He remembered. In the third year of their marriage, they had filed for divorce. It had entered the cooling-off phase, but Serena had used a near-death illness to guilt him into staying. That was the day he convinced himself she loved him more than life itself. He had stayed for 40 years of deception. The memories of his past life surged. The disinheritance, the lies, a 37-year-old secret son. Julian took a deep breath and closed his eyes. His voice was firm. "I'm not rescinding it." The lawyer paused. "Are you certain? Once the cooling-off period ends, you and Ms. Vance will no longer be husband and wife." That was exactly what Julian wanted. "I'm certain. Once the time is up, process the final decree immediately." Before he could finish, the door behind him opened. Serena was back. She held a bakery bag. "Jules, I bought your favorite pastries." Was that the lawyer? "Did you cancel the application?" Julian's back stiffened. He couldn't afford any mistakes. He hung up the phone and nodded, lying by omission. The next second, arms wrapped around his waist from behind, hugging him tight. It should have been a warm embrace, but Julian felt only bone-deep cold. "Hubby, I'll never make you angry again. Let's never talk about divorce. You really scare me this time." Serena's voice was sincere and gentle, acting as if she truly feared losing him. Julian fought to control his trembling. In his past life, he had fallen for this fake affection. He wouldn't be that fool again. Serena didn't notice his silence. She grabbed his hand excitedly. "I booked a table at your favorite restaurant. We should go now." Just like in a past life, Julian followed without resistance. Suddenly, he remembered Serena learning to cook for Adrian. He stopped. "Serena, let's eat at home tonight. Will you cook for me?" Serena paused, turning with a practiced, natural expression. "Hubby, you know I don't know how to cook, right?" Was it that she couldn't, or that she only cooked for Adrian? Julian lowered his eyes to hide the mockery in them. He didn't expose her lie. At the restaurant, halfway through the meal, Serena began checking her phone incessantly, brows furrowed. Julian glanced over and saw a wall of green text bubbles. All messages she had sent unilaterally. The recipient, naturally, was Adrian. Seeing Serena so anxious reminded him of when they were dating. Once, after a fight, he had sent her 999 messages in one night without a single reply. The next day, she told him, "Jules, sending that many messages is pathetic, you know? It's inefficient." Yet here she was, doing the pathetic thing, lowering herself to coax Adrian. When she truly loved someone, she became the fool too. A dull pain squeezed his heart. Suddenly, Serena looked up. "Jules, do you know what your cousin likes?" Julian's eyelashes trembled. In his past life, she had been this blunt, and he, the idiot, thought she was just being a considerate wife, caring for his family. His brief silence made Serena impatient, so she asked again. He spoke bitterly, "Watches." Getting her answer, Serena immediately stood up, dropping a hasty excuse. "Jules, something came up at the company. I won't be home tonight." She left the private room. She had booked this dinner to apologize to him, yet now he sat alone. Julian sat for a while, mechanically forcing food into his mouth. It tasted like wax. 30 minutes later, his phone buzzed relentlessly. It was Adrian. "I just didn't reply to my wifey for 30 minutes because I was showering, and she panicked and sent me 999 messages. She even ditched important clients to come cook my favorite meal. She bought this watch too. Heard it's the only one of its kind in the world. Cousin, she really loves me, doesn't she?" Attached was a photo of a home-cooked meal Julian had never tasted, and the watch. Julian gripped his phone tight, then laughed self-deprecatingly. In his past life, he would sincerely congratulate Adrian on finding love. Now, he realized he was just the punchline to their joke. He didn't reply. He turned off his phone and walked out. In 10 days, he would have nothing to do with them. This twisted relationship would end. Back home, Julian began packing. The jewelry, clothes, and watches Serena had given him. He left them all. He didn't need them. He didn't want them. As he packed important documents, the glitter on his ring finger caught his eye. A pure ruby ring, symbolizing burning, eternal love. He remembered Serena's proposal. Jules, marry me. I will love you for a lifetime, until the very end. She hadn't loved him for a lifetime. She had scammed him for one. She destroyed their love and trampled his sincerity. Without hesitation, Julian threw the ring he hadn't removed since the wedding into the trash. He wouldn't keep anything from someone who didn't love him. Just as he finished, his assistant arrived. Mr. Thorne, here is the birthday gift you ordered for your cousin. Julian paused. Tomorrow was Adrian's birthday. Looking at the exquisitely wrapped box, he took it and tossed it directly into the garbage bin. The assistant blinked. Mr. Thorne, should I buy another one? For every one of Adrian's birthdays, Julian used to prepare gifts meticulously. He never expected betrayal in return. Julian suppressed his nausea. No need. Never again. The assistant left, confused. That night, true to her word, Serena didn't come home. The next day, Julian went to his company. The first thing he did was call his secretary. I'll handle the overseas market expansion personally. Remove Lou from the project. The secretary was stunned. Everyone had suggested Julian go before, but he had refused to be away from Serena. Now he was volunteering. Why, yes, Mr. Thorne. Julian had stayed because he couldn't bear to be apart from her. That reason no longer existed. At noon, Adrian messaged him again, reminding him about the birthday party. Julian ignored it. He had no intention of going. But in the end, he went because Serena showed up at his office at closing time. In the car, Serena noticed his bare hands. Where's your gift? Adrian is really looking forward to it. Seeing that her first concern was Adrian's gift, Julian chuckled lightly. Is he? It was the first time he used that tone with her. Serena frowned, feeling a vague discomfort, but said nothing. Arriving at the venue, she pulled a wrapped gift from the trunk and shoved it into his arms. Give this to him. It's Adrian's birthday. Don't make him unhappy. Holding the box, Julian felt a sourness rise in his chest. It was the first time he realized she could be this thoughtful for someone else's emotions. At the door, Adrian, dressed in a flashy suit, lit up when he saw them. He ran over. Cousin. Serena looked at him with playful reproach. You look so handsome today. Try to act a bit more mature. Adrian grinned sheepishly. Sister-in-law. Watching them perform in front of him, Julian felt like he was being flayed alive. Adrian, oblivious, wrapped an arm around Julian's shoulder. Cousin, look at this place. Is it nice? The banquet hall was magnificent. Opulent chandeliers, thousands of fresh flowers. It was a level of luxury Julian had never seen for his own events. Adrian bragged. Wifey set this all up. I said keep it low-key, but she insisted. She said my birthday is important. Julian's eyelashes trembled. In his past life, Serena had said those words to him for 40 years. It turned out she never gave him anything unique. He only got the leftovers. Whispers from guests drifted into his ears. Who is this Mr. Thorne's wife anyway? Even for his brother, CEO Vance didn't pull out stops like this. I wonder which tycoon Mr. Thorne's wife is. Julian instinctively looked at Serena. She was smiling, watching Adrian with pure adoration. How had he been so blind before? The party started. It was time to cut the cake. Adrian insisted the three of them do it together. Cousin, sister-in-law, let's cut it together. Julian remembered this from the past. He had agreed then. Serena had gripped Adrian's hand tight, with Julian's hand merely resting on top. Thinking of how many boundaries they crossed right under his nose made his stomach turn. He refused. You two do it. I'll pass. Adrian looked visibly disappointed, hanging his head. Immediately, Serena's eyes filled with sympathy for Adrian, and she turned a reproachful glare on Julian. Jules, don't upset Adrian. Julian looked at her with pain and confusion. I don't want to cut a cake. Do I not even have the right to refuse? The raw emotion in his eyes stunned Serena. Her chest tightened unexpectedly. Julian didn't wait for an answer. He turned to leave the center stage. He barely took 2 steps when Adrian grabbed him, shoving a cake knife in his palm. Cousin, don't go, let's cut it. Julian tried to pull away, but Adrian gripped him deathly tight. In the struggle, they both lost their balance, falling toward the massive cake. Julian tried to dodge at the last second, but a forceful shove pushed him directly onto the cake stand. The cloying scent of sugar filled his nose, followed by a sharp, searing pain in his palm. The cake knife had pierced right through his hand. Pain made his body shake. His vision went white. The screams around him sounded muffled. When the sound clarified, the first thing he heard was Serena's voice. It was cold as ice. Julian Thorne, it's Adrian's birthday. Couldn't you just humor him? Would cutting a cake kill you? Julian looked up. Serena was shielding Adrian protectively. He realized the shove had come from her. She had pushed him into the blade to save Adrian from falling into the cake. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead. He gasped, looking at her. He's my cousin, not yours. Why do you care so much? Serena's eyes flashed with panic, then hardened. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm taking Adrian to the hospital. She helped Adrian up. He had a tiny scratch. She rushed him out of the hall. Julian was covered in white frosting, the red blood pouring from his palm stark against the white. She didn't see it. She only saw Adrian. In the past, Serena couldn't bear to see Julian get a paper cut. Now, what was love, really? He lowered his head and laughed self-deprecatingly, ignoring the whispers. He pushed himself up with his good hand and staggered out. Covered in cake, no taxi would take him. Julian walked to the hospital. A nurse immediately rushed him to a chair in the lobby to bandage him. Why aren't we going to a treatment room? He asked. The nurse explained. A female CEO brought her injured husband in. She cleared the whole floor. We have to bandage you here for now. Before Julian could process that, the knife was pulled out. The pain nearly knocked him out. Just then, a group hurried down the corridor. Serena was escorting Adrian to another exam room. Julian watched, dazed. The nurse sighed enviously. That's them. The patient's wife really loves him. She hasn't left his side for a second. The real husband was nearly fainting from pain, while Serena devoted herself to her lover. Julian swallowed the bitterness and whispered, truly a loving couple. 20 minutes later, bandaged and medicated, he walked toward the exit. Passing the last VIP room, he heard Adrian and Serena's voices. He froze. Adrian sounded weepy. Serena, let's get rid of the baby. Serena's voice was panicked. Adrian, why? You love kids. Adrian sounded dejected. I just thought, if you and cousin have a baby later, where does that leave ours? Cousin wants kids too, right? Don't worry, Adrian. I won't have children with him. My children can only be yours. Serena sounded like she was making a vow. Adrian pressed on. But what about cousin? Won't he get suspicious? Relax. I know you value family. I won't put you in a tough spot, Serena said deeply. I'll tell him I want to be child-free. I'll say I'm a dink. So we don't have to abort it? I already named him. How about Leo Vance? Adrian laughed through tears, hugging her. The scene inside was warm and fuzzy. Outside, Julian's blood froze. She didn't want to be child-free. She just didn't want his children. Julian stared at the door, trying to reconcile this woman with the one who claimed to love him. His heart felt shredded. Wet kissing sounds came from inside. Julian couldn't take any more. He fled. Serena came home that day, surprising Julian. He was sitting on the bed, booking his flight. He quickly locked his phone. Serena didn't notice. She looked unwell. Then she saw his bandaged hand. She rushed over. What happened? Was this from today? Why didn't you tell me? Julian looked at the concern on her face. It didn't look fake. He said flatly, if I told you, would you have left Adrian to care for me? Serena paused. He's your cousin. As the older brother, you should yield to him. Tired of her hypocritical excuses, Julian pulled his hand back and lay down. I am sleepy. Looking at her empty hand, Serena felt a strange unease. Julian felt like a different person. Before she could think, her phone rang. I have something to handle. You sleep first. Just before the door closed, Julian heard her whisper Adrian. He closed his eyes, counting down the days of the divorce cooling-off period. The next morning, Julian reached the stairs and heard Serena talking to her brother downstairs. Her brother sounded confused. What's going on? You're pregnant with your husband's cousin's baby? When I left 2 years ago, weren't you obsessed with Julian? Julian stopped. You want to know too? Serena crossed her legs, speaking casually. At first, I was attracted to his competence in business. But after we got together, I realized he was too hard to control. Then Adrian came along. He's obedient, sensible. That's what a husband should be. I realized I love him. Julian's eyes filled with irony. She loved the view from the mountain, but hated the climb. If you don't love Julian anymore, why not divorce him? The brother asked. Serena looked down. I don't love him, but I promised to make him the master of the Vance household. I won't go back on my word. Julian gripped the banister. Cruel. She dragged him along without love, just to keep her reputation intact. He laughed softly and walked down. Serena panicked when she saw him. When did you come down? Did you hear anything? Julian didn't even look at her. No. Serena relaxed, serving him breakfast as usual. The next day was Julian's mother's memorial. Usually, Serena went with him. This time, he went alone. Knowing he was leaving the country soon, he stayed longer, talking to the headstone about his departure. Going abroad? You're leaving. Serena's stern voice startled him. He turned to see her helping Adrian walk up the path. Their hands were intertwined. Julian stared at their hands silently. Serena pulled away, explaining, Adrian needed to come pay respects too, so I brought him. Julian didn't care. He picked up his things. I'm done. I'm leaving. Adrian spoke up softly. Does cousin hate me? Is it because of the birthday party? It was all my fault. Can I apologize? He sounded on the verge of tears. Serena's expression shifted instantly to annoyance at Julian. Julian, I told you the accident wasn't Adrian's fault. Why the attitude? Serena's expression shifted instantly to annoyance at Julian. Julian, I told you the accident wasn't Adrian's fault. Why the attitude? Julian found it absurd. I don't have an attitude. You clearly do, Serena decided. Stay here and accompany Adrian while he pays respects. We'll leave together. Julian's chest ached, but he stayed. He stopped expecting Serena to side with him. He just wanted to leave peacefully in a few days. Adrian stepped forward to burn paper offerings. Serena stood by him. Julian watched from the back. Suddenly, Adrian screamed. Julian looked up to see Adrian had set the dry grass on the grave mound on fire. The flames spread instantly. Julian rushed to stomp it out. Serena joined in. Just as the fire was coming under control, Adrian stumbled back and shrieked, "Ah, sister-in-law, I'm scared." Serena immediately abandoned the fire, grabbed Adrian, and ran down the hill. Julian screamed for help, but she never looked back. The fire grew, engulfing his mother's grave. Julian tried desperately to fight it, but it was useless. A passerby called the police. Julian, the only one at the scene, was arrested for arson. The police notified his family. Serena didn't show up for 3 days. When she arrived, smelling of Adrian's cologne, Julian knew she had been comforting him. Julian sneered. Adrian was always first. In the visitation room, Julian thought she was there to bail him out. Instead, she said, "Jules, stay in here for a couple more days. Arson is a serious crime. Adrian is still a suspect. Once his name is cleared, I'll get you out." Julian looked at her in disbelief. "I didn't do it. Why should I stay in jail? It was Adrian's fault. Why am I taking the fall?" He wanted to ask why. Why lie for 40 years? Why betray him? But none of it mattered. He was leaving. Julian wanted to speak, but her phone rang. Adrian's voice leaked out. "Serena, where are you? When are you coming back?" She stood up immediately. Julian was sent to the detention center. Not jail yet, but holding. Inside, he met someone unexpected. Well, Julian Thorne. Julian tensed, looking at the disgraced socialite, Caleb King. A year ago, King had tried to assault a drunk Serena. Julian had intervened. Serena had then destroyed the King family business. Now, the boomerang hit Julian. Finally fell out of favor? You're in here, and Serena isn't fishing you out. Caleb lifted his shirt, showing a jagged scar. Serena's goons did this when they smashed my club. Now, they knew the rules. No fatal wounds. Just torture. For 2 days, Julian lived through hell. No food. Beatings. Forced to swallow a silicone spoon. His injured hand stomped on repeatedly. When Serena finally came, Julian hadn't eaten in 48 hours. He was a bruised, walking corpse. She wore a crisp suit, her tone gentle. "Jules, I'm here to take you home." Julian's eyes were empty. He walked past her without a glance. His indifference stunned her. She felt him drifting away, a feeling more intense than ever before. She suppressed it. He had no reason to leave. Back home, Serena finally noticed his condition. Seeing the bruises, her face darkened. What happened? Who did this? Julian looked at her with irony. Caleb King is in there. Serena understood instantly. She gritted her teeth. Him. I shouldn't have left him a way out. Seeing her rage, Julian felt nothing. If not for you, I wouldn't have been in there for 2 days. I wouldn't have suffered this. He walked upstairs, leaving Serena standing frozen. 4 days left until the divorce was final. Julian recovered at home, preparing his overseas accounts. Serena was always busy with Adrian. Julian thought the final days would pass quietly. Then, a phone call shattered the silence. His secretary was frantic. "Mr. Thorne, the company's capital chain is broken. Suppliers have stopped shipments. The factory is shutting down." Julian gripped the phone. "What happened?" Serena backed his funding. "It shouldn't break. I asked Ms. Vance's assistant. Apparently, Adrian wanted to open a fashion boutique. Ms. Vance pulled our funding to give to him." Julian's mind buzzed. It was absurd. A boutique needed that much capital. He called Serena. "You cut my funding." Serena paused. "Adrian wants to open a store." Julian's voice trembled. "Serena, you know this company is my life. You cut the chain without telling me? Does a clothing store need millions in liquidity?" Serena knew what the company meant to him. Yet she didn't hesitate to risk his bankruptcy for Adrian. Julian realized again how little he mattered. Serena, feeling guilty but defensive, hardened her voice. "It's just a few days. Your company won't collapse. I'll transfer her back once the store is set up." She hung up. Julian shouted, "Serena?" Serena. Only the dial tone answered. A normal company might survive. But Julian's company was in a shark tank. Without the Vance protection, enemies would swarm. Did she not know? No, she knew. Adrian was just more important. Julian laughed bitterly. He immediately went out to find new investors. He had been looking since his rebirth, wanting to sever ties with Serena. But everyone refused him. They heard Serena had pulled out and didn't want to cross her. For 2 days, Julian didn't sleep. He begged, he ran, but he couldn't save it. Signing the acquisition contract, he felt a crushing defeat. This company was his blood and sweat. Now it was gone. He packed his personal items in a cardboard box and walked out. The lawyer called. Mr. Thorne, the cooling-off period is over. The divorce agreement is officially effective. Thank you. He had achieved his goal, but he felt no relief. He went home, grabbed his suitcase, and headed to JFK Airport. 30 minutes before boarding, Julian did something unplanned. He opened an app and started a live stream. Serena had left him no dignity. He owed her none. Vance CEO's affair partner is actually husband's cousin. He knew it would top the trending list tomorrow. Serena was with Adrian when her assistant called. Ms. Vance. Mr. Thorne. He's live streaming. What? Just watch it. The airport background was noisy. Julian sat in a corner. Viewers flooded in. Mr. Thorne hasn't streamed since the wedding. Is this a honeymoon trip? Everyone thought they were the perfect couple. Julian spoke slowly. Not a honeymoon. We are divorced. The comments exploded. What? Is this an April Fool's joke? Serena, Vance cheated on me. Her partner is the cousin I protected, Adrian Thorne. They got together 6 months ago. They have a child. If I hadn't found out, I would have been deceived for a lifetime. He closed his eyes, suppressing his emotions. Serena entered the stream just in time to hear this. He knew everything. The chat turned toxic. Adulterous couple. The rich are disgusting. Boycott Vance Corp. Poor guy. Betrayed by wife and cousin. I'm going to spam their corporate account. Vance Corp's social media was instantly flooded with hate. Serena furiously called Julian. He didn't pick up. She texted, Julian, stop this. Can't we handle this privately? Do you have to ruin everyone's reputation? Julian smirked at the messages. She only panicked when her reputation or money was threatened. The boarding announcement played. Flight 396 is now boarding. Julian ended the stream, removed his SIM card, and tossed it in the trash. He walked to the gate. Serena arrived at the airport too late. The plane had taken off. She paced the lobby, furious. Booked the next flight to his destination. This was the first time she was truly angry at him. She thought he was calm. She didn't know she had destroyed his 40 years of trust and his company. Half an hour later, just as she was heading to security, Adrian called. Serena, I feel dizzy. I think I have a fever. Serena stopped. She weighed her options for a few seconds. Adrian, stay home. I'm coming back. She glanced at the gate one last time, then turned around. Back home. Adrian hugged her, weeping. Serena, they found out. Everyone is cursing us. Cousin must hate me. I don't want to live anymore. Serena hugged him back. Don't cry. I'll protect you. This will blow over. Don't talk about dying. Adrian buried his face in her chest, hiding a cunning smirk. Public opinion would pass. The position of Mr. Vance would be his. The online storm intensified. Vance Corp's stock plummeted. Partners canceled contracts promoting family values. The boardroom was packed. Ms. Vance, are you going to let a man destroy the company? Fix this. Our stocks are tanking. Serena sat at the head of the table, face black as thunder. The shareholders took her silence for weakness. We need a statement. Ms. Vance should step down temporarily. Agreed. Serena scoffed, silencing the room. She stood up, hands in pockets. I will handle this. And remember who built Vance Corp into what it is today. She walked out. Back in her office, her composure crumbled. What's the situation online? The assistant trembled. Our statement didn't work. Netizens say if it's a misunderstanding, mister. Thorne needs to clarify it personally. Serena ripped off her tie. She thought Julian was just throwing a massive tantrum. She was annoyed that she had been caught, but she didn't have time to reflect. She sent her assistant abroad to find Julian. After a long day, she went home, to the house she shared with Julian. Seeing his things still there, she felt reassured. He was just angry. She loved Adrian more, but she never planned to divorce Julian. He was the perfect Mr. Vance. She would win him back with money and status. The doorbell rang. A courier. Document from Ms. Serena Vance. She signed. It was the divorce decree. Her eyes widened. Hadn't he canceled it? She called the lawyer. Mr. Thorne never canceled. He instructed me to proceed. The phone slipped from her hand. They were divorced. It was real. Panic set in. Just then, Adrian called. Serena, aren't you coming? I miss you. The baby misses you. To escape the panic, she went to Adrian. But she was distracted. Adrian sensed it but played the long game. Julian was gone. The throne was his. He ignored the ingrate comments online. The next day, the assistant reported, Mr. Thorne is hard to track abroad. Serena rubbed her temples. Keep looking. Then she paused. Wait, take me to his company. She knew how much he loved his business. If she held the funding hostage, he would come back. She arrived at Julian's building, marching in. The receptionist stopped her. Ms. Vance, do you have an appointment? Serena frowned. Before she could snap, a greasy voice called out. Ms. Vance. It was Julian's business rival. What are you doing here? Serena asked. The rival beamed. I bought the company. I'm the new chairman. Serena froze. What? When you pulled the funding, I pressured him. He sold it. Serena heard it clearly. Her first thought was, how do I force him back now? He had nothing left for her to threaten. A void opened in her chest. The rival kept talking. He looked like he was going to faint when he signed. Walked out like a zombie. Without your support, that hillbilly is nothing. Hearing him insult Julian, Serena snapped. Her glare terrified the man. She left without a word. On the ride back, she was silent. Her assistant was terrified. He had warned her about the funding, but she hadn't listened. Now Julian's company was gone because she wanted to fund a boutique. Serena felt like a piece of her foundation had collapsed. She realized what she had done. Dizziness hit her. She stumbled, falling to the ground. Sharp pain in her abdomen. Warmth spreading. Meanwhile, Adrian, anxious, was leaving his apartment to find Serena. Reporters ambushed him. Mr. Thorne, why did you ruin your cousin's marriage? Did you seduce her? Flashes blinded him. He tried to hide his face. Security guards rushed to disperse the press. At that moment, Adrian's phone rang. It was Serena's assistant. Mr. Thorne, Ms. Vance. She miscarried. London. Julian landed and went straight to a rented townhouse. It had a garden. It was clean. He sat on the sofa, feeling adrift. He had planned to expand his business here, but now he had no business. That afternoon, he sat there, feeling an unprecedented emptiness. At dinner, he scrolled through his phone and saw a travel documentary. A spark lit up. Since graduation, he had only worked. In his past life, he slaved away for 40 years. This was his first real vacation. He made a plan. The next day, he started exploring London. He visited every landmark. He spent afternoons leaning on fences by the Thames, watching sunrises, feeding pigeons in the squares. He noticed a woman who was often there too. She was one of the few other Asian faces in the area. They didn't speak until an accident happened. Julian was reading on a bench. Suddenly, his bag was snatched. Before he could react, the woman chased the thief. Julian ran after them. She retrieved the bag and brought it back. Keep an eye on this. Pickpockets are common here. Her voice was magnetic. Up close, she was beautiful. Julian took the bag. Thanks. They parted ways. Julian started setting up a new company. He needed a partner. He put out an ad. A response came quickly from a Chinese expat. They arranged to meet at a cafe. 2 days later, Julian arrived early. The woman from the square walked in. She smiled warmly. Hello, I'm Stella Mirce, your new partner, New York. Serena left the hospital after the abortion. Adrian wept. Our baby. Serena felt a flicker of annoyance, but hid it. She went back to work the next day. The scandal had created a mountain of problems. Shareholders pressured her. Partners squeezed her. Adrian kept calling, wanting to take care of her. It was suffocating. She missed Julian. If Julian were here, he would solve problems, not create them. He would stand by her firmly, but she had driven him away. For the first time, Serena felt regret. She went home to the dark, empty house. She realized Julian had always been soft for her, greeting her at the door, making hangover soup. She went to the bedroom. In the trash, she saw a red glint. The wedding ring. Memories of their wedding flooded back. She had loved him then. Looking around, she saw traces of his love everywhere. Vases she bought, paintings he sourced. He had left them all. It felt like he had left his love behind too. Heartache seized her. She spent the night reflecting. By sunrise, she made a decision. She would win Julian back. She ordered her assistant to find him. She bought his old company back from the rival, hoping it would serve as an apology. She ignored Adrian's calls, transferring him a sum of money instead. A month later, she found Julian in London. She flew there immediately. She arrived just in time to see him getting into another woman's car. Julian and Stella worked well together. Stella knew the local market. Within 2 weeks, they secured a project and hired 3 employees. They were young and energetic. Go home, guys. It's late, Julian told them. They finally left at 10 p.m. Julian stayed. A knock on the door. Stella entered. Julian, go home. You've been burning the candle at both ends. Almost done, he said, adjusting his blue light glasses. 5 minutes later, Stella sat opposite him with her laptop. I have work too. Let's finish together. Julian fell asleep on the desk. When he woke, a blanket was draped over him. Stella was still typing. She noticed him awake. Go home and sleep. I finished your part. She covered his eyes with her hand before turning on the bright lights. Go. Take the morning off tomorrow. Julian was surprised by her care. He went home and slept soundly. They finished the order perfectly, leading to a bigger contract. They went out to celebrate. Everyone drank except Stella, who was driving. When the staff tried to pour Julian more wine, a slender hand covered his glass. Stella smiled, but her eyes were firm. Enough. Next time I'll drink with you. Your boss is a cold. The staff relented. Okay, Stella, next time. Halfway through, an employee raised a glass. To our company. Future fortune 500. Everyone laughed at the ambition, but they toasted. Julian whispered, it will get better. He was grateful for this second chance. After dinner, Stella put the employees in cabs, then walked to Julian. Let's go. I'll drive you. Julian walked to her car. As he reached for the door handle, a hand grabbed his wrist and yanked him back. Julian spun around. It was Serena. Seeing him, Serena's face lit up. Jules! But seeing the disgust in his eyes, she froze. Julian was confused. Why was she here? Serena gripped him tighter, forcing a smile. Jules, come back with me. I bought your company back. It's yours again. Julian frowned. I don't want it. Do whatever you want with it. And we have no relationship. Don't call me that. It's disgusting. The company meant nothing now. Like her. Hearing him reject the company, Serena felt a knife twist in her gut. She had nothing left to bargain with. No, don't go. Jules, I was wrong. Come back. She squeezed his wrist painfully. Stella stepped in, grabbing Serena's arm. You're hurting him. Let go. Serena snapped out of it, glaring at Stella. The woman from the car. Jealousy exploded. She raised her hand and slapped Stella. The slap was loud. Stella stumbled. She touched her cheek, then looked at Julian. Julian, she hit me first. Julian paused. In that second, Stella lunged, and the two women began fighting. A crowd gathered. Police were called. Julian pulled Stella back. Stella, stop. Stella stopped, shaking off Serena. Serena, battered, looked at Julian with hope. Jules, I'm hurt too. In the past, he would have sided with her. Now, Serena, you started it. Why are you playing the victim? The words pierced Serena. Police arrived. At the station, the officer looked at the bruised Serena and the slightly marked Stella. He asked Julian. Julian pointed at Serena. She started it. I don't know her. She grabbed me. I don't know her. The words shattered Serena. Serena was detained for 5 days for assault. She watched helplessly as Julian left with Stella. Outside, Julian apologized to Stella. I'm sorry. You got hurt because of me. Stella smiled, wincing. Smile more. It's her fault, not yours. Julian lowered his head. Okay. Stella drove him home. Take a few days off, he said. The project is more important, she replied the next day. Julian couldn't argue. Under her supervision, he stopped pulling all-nighters. On his birthday, Stella cleared their schedules. She took him to a restaurant. A cake was brought out. I made it myself, Stella admitted shyly. It's a bit ugly. Julian was stunned. Serena had claimed she couldn't cook. Stella learned to bake for him. It's the first time someone made me a cake. I love it. They talked until 10 p.m. Stella dropped him off. Bye. Julian turned to his building and saw a familiar figure. Serena, fresh out of detention, stood there holding a thermos. She had waited 5 hours. She saw him get out of Stella's car. Jealousy surged. Julian tried to walk past her. She blocked him, holding out the thermos. She looked haggard. Jules, happy birthday. I made longevity noodles. Julian looked at the thermos. She had refused to cook when he begged. Now she did it unasked. He didn't take it. Serena, when I wanted it, you said you couldn't. Now, I don't need it. Serena's hand froze. She forced a smile. It's mushroom broth, your favorite. Just taste it. Clang. Julian swatted the thermos to the ground. Soup splattered everywhere. I said I don't need it, and I don't need you. His eyes were cold enough to freeze her soul. Julian stepped over the mess and went upstairs without looking back. Serena stood alone in the scent of spilled soup. Julian assumed she would give up. She was proud, after all, but then the flowers started arriving. A bouquet from Serena. He tossed in the bin. Every day, flowers arrived. Every day, the bin. One day, the bin was full, so he carried the flowers downstairs to the dumpster. He ran into Serena. She beamed. Jules, do you like them? I can send them every day. How could I like this garbage? He threw the flowers at her chest. Take your trash with you. Serena hugged the flowers, face pale. Jules, stop seeing that woman. I go crazy with jealousy. That woman? She meant Stella. You have no right to demand anything. I'm not demanding. We are divorced. Julian walked away. Serena felt surrounded by ice. She didn't stop. Next came breakfast delivery, lunch delivery, Chinese food, hard to find in London. Julian threw it all away. One day, Julian went to a business dinner alone. He got tipsy and went to the restroom. On his way out, a drunk man bumped into him and grabbed his collar aggressively. Julian, weak from alcohol, struggled. Suddenly, a vase smashed over the drunk's head. The man dropped. Julian looked up. Serena held the broken vase. She grabbed Julian's shoulders. Jules, are you okay? Julian pulled away. Thanks. The polite word stung her. Suddenly, a vase smashed over the drunk's head. The man dropped. Julian looked up. Serena held the broken vase. She grabbed Julian's shoulders. Jules, are you okay? Julian pulled away. Thanks. The polite word stung her more than an insult. I'm going. He left. He knew she was shadowing him for protection, like the old days when she saved him from business rivals. They had good memories, but they didn't erase the betrayal. He needed to end this. He left work early one day and walked straight up to Serena, who was waiting across the street. Serena, what do you want? Serena's heart raced. Jules, I'm sorry. I was blind. I realized your worth after you left. Give me a chance. Julian laughed. My worth? My competence? Or the fact that I'm harder to control? Serena blanched. He had heard everything. This relationship is rotten. I don't love you. You and Adrian are a perfect match. Both disgusting. Serena bowed her head, pain radiating through her. Stay away from me. Her phone rang. A strange number. She declined. It rang again. She answered. It was Adrian. Serena, where are you? Why won't you answer? I can't find you. Julian smirked. Serena panicked. We are done. Stop calling me. Julian raised an eyebrow. He turned to leave. She grabbed him. Jules, don't go. I really realized I love you. Give me one chance. Julian rolled his eyes. Serena, this is pathetic. I will never love you again. He shook her off. She stood rooted to the spot. After that, she disappeared. Julian enjoyed the peace until he found Adrian waiting outside his office. Adrian wanted to talk. Julian agreed, curious about the betrayal. In a cafe, Adrian spoke first. Stop harassing Serena. Julian scoffed. Is that it? Adrian trembled. She doesn't love you. Give her to me. Julian glared. I treated you like a brother. This is how you repay me. Adrian slammed his cup down. Treated me well? You mean those scraps you threw me? You think I'm grateful for your charity? Julian realized Adrian was simply rotten to the core. Then Adrian dropped a bomb. You were reborn too, right? Julian froze. Adrian had the eyes of a 60-year-old man. In the last life, I died of stroke. I woke up 10 days ago. But Serena lost the baby because of you. You changed the timeline. She loved me for 40 years in that life. She's mine. Give her back. Adrian, what are you doing? Serena stormed in. Adrian paled. Serena, cousin invited me. He's trying to separate us. Shut up. If not for you, Julian wouldn't have left me. She turned to Adrian with hatred. We are over. Take the money and get lost. If you bother Julian again, I will destroy you. She chased after Julian, who had already walked out. She grabbed his hand on the street. Jules, sorry. Anything else? I am Busse. His tone was indifferent. Jules, I really love you. Give me a chance. I'll love you for a lifetime. Lifetime. Julian laughed darkly. Serena, do you know how I found out? She froze. The day before I was supposed to cancel the divorce, I had a dream. In the dream, I was 60. You died. You left everything to Adrian and your secret son. I was kicked out and died. In that dream, you didn't love me for a lifetime. You scammed me for a lifetime. I don't want the ending from that dream. Serena stared at him. The high tower of her hope collapsed. The dream was real. That was their true ending. We have no future. Julian walked away. Serena realized that if he hadn't had that dream, she would have done exactly that. The next day, Serena returned to New York. For a year, she restrained herself from seeing him. She drank to survive the days. Her company was crushed by competitors, and she was ousted by the board. She became a pariah. 1 year later, she heard Julian was getting married. She borrowed money from everyone she knew to buy a plane ticket to London. On the wedding day, Serena stood outside the garden fence, watching from a distance. She saw Julian in a black tuxedo, smiling radiantly at Stella, who walked down the aisle. His smile was pure happiness. That look used to belong to her. Now, she could only watch him run to someone else. Serena stood quietly, then left quietly. She wanted to preserve the last shred of dignity. She wanted him to remember her as the CEO, not this broken woman. That was her only wish. Julian heard from a waiter later that she had been there. He felt little emotion. Whatever her fate, she chose it. Julian? Is something wrong? Stella, in a white wedding dress, held his arm. Julian shook his head, smiling. Nothing. Let's go in. This life taught him one thing. Love someone who is inherently good. The sky was blue. His new life was just beginning. Story complete.